Hello, and welcome to the sixth episode of ZeroCool's HardDrive. I'm Dunkel, and I'll be your host this week. With me, as always, is Berg, and a man who had 1,507 playthroughs on Pokemon and still couldn't figure out the ending. Houseman.
Lies, all lies.
Today, the randomizer gods have chosen for us the 2014 and The Edge of Tomorrow. This movie was directed by Doug Liman and stars Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, and Bill Paxton. Berg, take it away.
Yeah, so we'll start with some news from 2014. The ALS Bucket Challenge was all over Facebook and the social media, tagging your friends, making them dump ice water on themselves. I believe I actually jumped into the Thief River in the middle of the winter almost. So that's how I did the Ice Bucket Challenge.
I would say kind of the first ridiculous viral trend.
Well, it wasn't too ridiculous. I mean, you were supposed to donate after you did it.
It was supposed to be for that, but
Yeah.
naturally some chaos ensued.
Yeah. Jimmy Fallon officially took over NBC's The Tonight Show from Jay Leno. Big transition there in the late night world. And Stephen Colbert hosted the final episode of the Colbert Report before taking over the late show or something like that, I think.
Oh gosh, had he really been doing the show that long?
Didn't he do something like that? I can't remember exactly, but yeah, he did this final episode of the Colbert Report also.
Yeah, I remember he took over for Letterman. I just didn't realize he'd been doing it so long.
Wow.
And this was the year of that huge Sony hack, where Sony got hacked, a bunch of their unreleased films got put out, executive communications.
I'll never forget that year because I thought it was just something wrong with my PlayStation. And I reset my entire PlayStation thinking that was the issue, and it wiped my entire God of War progress, and I never touched the game after that.
Yeah, and I remember,
I didn't want to redo it.
I'm pretty sure the same thing happened to me.
Didn't they release the interview, the movie, after it got hacked because somebody found that movie in the hack or something? I can't remember exactly what happened.
Oh, I don't know.
There's something along the lines with that.
Gosh, you're supposed to know these things, Berg.
We also landed a probe on a comet in 2014.
Wow.
European Space Agency's Rosetta mission successfully dropped the Philae, I think that's how you say it, Philae probe onto comet, some silly name for a comet.
Space people, we love space.
And now we take weekend trips around the moon and come back.
Yeah, not a ton going on this year for pop culture news, but some interesting stuff anyway.
Maybe it's because we're getting older too, just kind of all blurs together.
Yeah,
that's also true. Yeah, once you start getting mid 2000s to the 2020s, everything kind of seems like it's the same year.
Your years feel less eventful for sure.
Yeah.
All right, shall we hop into the movie?
I had a couple movie facts for you, just so you guys can go through. So, the movie was actually based on a Japanese novel called All You Need Is Kill.
All You Need Is Kill?
Which follows a cowardly PR officer stuck in a time loop. And then Tom Cruise insisted on using real, practical exosuits rather than relying on CGI. So the suits weighed 85 to 90 pounds, and then when they mounted weapons on them, they pushed past 120 pounds.
Of course, Tom Cruise.
Well, yes. Even the movie, it looked like they were lumbering around pretty good.
And director Doug Liman threw out about 2/3 of the screenplay just 8 weeks before the shooting started. The crew began filming without a finished script, piecing it together as they went.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, jeepers.
Which, once we get into this, might, decide there might be some notes that we took, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Might be kind of evident.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our news, some movie news. We can just start in on the movie.
So our movie picks up kind of how a lot of disaster-ish movies pick up, where, they're kind of cut into some real news footage and some fake newscasters talking about some global catastrophe. In this case, it just looks like you're using kind of stock war footage and, stock footage from elsewhere.
Yeah, I am a fan of that though. All the news broadcasts showing like different things, showing what would actually happen if this stuff started happening. Like if it was in Europe, we would be seeing news about it. They'd get people over there. So definitely, I like that trope of showing all the news.
And there were actually a few real newscasters I noticed, because there was like Wolf Blitzer. Oh, what's her name? Erin Burnett or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. But then it kind of cuts to Tom Cruise, our main character here, otherwise known as Major William Cage.
Yep.
Instrumental, I think, in just basically advertising that. Did they call it the cage? I couldn't remember. Like advertising this piece of hardware.
The exo, yeah, I can't remember what they called the exosuit. I guess I didn't even write that down. But yeah,
he was kind of responsible for pushing the exosuits and saying, "Hey, it's great."
Yeah, on day one, Emily Blunt's character killed 100 mimics, is what they say that aliens are called.
Which I want to come back to that later.
Yep, we are going to, because I wrote like 3 notes about that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so talking about it, trying to recruit people in. Hey, you can come into the military. We'll give you these exosuits, and you'll be a hero. You'll be the hero of the day.
They're so easy to get used to it that Emily Blunt's character learned it in a day, and she killed hundreds of people.
Yep.
And yeah, he was saying new recruits could kill 100 mimics in a day wearing this suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's because that was her story. The Angel of Verdun was what they were calling her.
Angel of Verdun.
And then you kind of get into it. You see him going to different news broadcasts, and then he's on a helicopter to go see the general. Because the general wants to talk to him.
General Brigham?
Yes.
Yeah, from what I could tell, he was kind of like almost like a UN division general or something like that. Because it seems to kind of be like a multinational force.
Yeah, it was like a multinational force, I think. I think it was everybody just kind of like joining against the alien scourge that was taking over the planet.
What I thought was weird is that so when he gets there, he starts speaking to him about like, hey, this is what my thought is. We're advertising this suit. And then he kind of turns to him just like, nope, you're going to be front lines now. So it's like, what led him to the point where like now he's just in the middle of like, we're throwing you into war? Like, what did he do wrong? Did I miss something where they covered that? Like why they're just like turning on him?
Well, he was basically, he told them the story, which is basically going to be their D-Day in this world. Is going to be a D-Day against the aliens, is basically how it is. A huge force. And Tom Cruise's character is supposed to just go and be a journalist there. That was what he was telling him. He was like, "Well, you're gonna go. You're gonna cover this. Like even if we lose, you're gonna be covering this with like cameras and all of this stuff." And then
I don't think
Oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then like Tom Cruise's character he's just Tom Cruise. It's It's like he's not that bad of an actor. He's not obviously a good actor, but like he's just Tom Cruise in this movie. Like
he's Tom Cruise action man.
He's just Mark Wahlberg, but action movies.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they explicitly stated this, but the impression I got is the general was kind of miffed with him. How he was talking this exosuit up.
Yeah.
On the news, thinking that new recruits could just as easily go out there and kill 100 mimics. I think it was more to show him like, hey, these suits aren't as great as you think necessarily, and they require some skill to operate. And that I think that's why he actually signed him to the front lines there.
Well, and they were using Emily Blunt as like a poster child of like, they must be easy. Like she got into it. She's been going like crazy. And then kind of find out as he's trying to navigate it later that it's not that easy.
Nope. Not at all.
Yeah, I guess I took that a different way, but it's possible too. And then, so Tom Cruise, so he's like, you're going, and then Tom Cruise tries to blackmail him by saying, like, I got 1 million people to sign up for the army. Imagine what I could get them to think about you.
Yeah, what was my note? Basically trying everything he could to get out of the front line.
Yeah.
I mean,
if I see blood, I'm going to pass out.
Yeah, and then, he's like, I can't see blood. And then he opens the door, and the general's just like, arrest this man. And Tom Cruise looks back, and instead of arguing his point more, he just starts running.
Like, that's
What was his
something you want to
what
do.
was his exit plan there?
Right.
Like, a general says, arrest this man, and I'm going to start running.
Yeah.
And I don't think, well, no, he did have his what is it, Major's uniform on, but still.
He did.
He had his Major's uniform on, yeah, and just says arrest this man, and then I wrote that down. I was like, you could have talked your way out of it, maybe, instead of just running. Now you look super guilty for something nobody knows you did anything.
Right.
Or maybe don't settle on blackmail immediately as you're leaving his office, you know? Maybe try some different avenues.
Yeah. Blackmail is kind of a crazy thing there.
So, yeah, then he sprints out, and then he gets tased, and then we kind of get the waking up right before PT.
And I must say, this is the introduction of Bill Paxton, who did, I mean, was it amazing acting? I might not say that, but I just love his portrayal.
I feel like it was an amazing character, and
Of the
yeah,
kind
I
of
feel like he
hard-ass
played it.
drill
I played it
sergeant.
very well. Yeah, almost like cult leaderish, the way he talks and just the way he acts. Yeah,
Definitely channeling a little Arlie Ermy from Full Metal Jacket there.
yeah, a little bit for sure. Yeah, and then he's talking about being bathed in blood and battle, and battle is the great redeemer, and
All sorts of kind of inspirational war phrases.
Here's where I had an issue here though. So, do you think Bill Paxton's character was in on him being a deserter and impersonating an officer? Because how do none of these people recognize Tom Cruise's character? He was all over the news.
TV. Yeah.
And if you think about how he talks about how he was recruiting people. So people watched this and then went and signed up for the army in these exosuits. How does no one know who he is?
That's a good question, and I didn't think about that before.
I was just like, Bill Paxton's character's got to just be in on it then.
Yeah.
I just got the impression that he didn't care one way or the other.
Well, that's also true. Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I've been charged with, making you a soldier, so here we go.
Yeah, he's like, here's your papers. But I was like, this dude was all over
I'm
national
sure
news in multiple countries. Like, what do we,
Yeah.
how do you
I'm
not
sure
know who he is?
I'm definitely sure he was in on it, because kind of like a smug look the entire time. We're just like, I just happen to have some papers here that actually say this is what you are, and that you're going to try and call people and leave, and you're not going to do that.
And then he gets walked into the barracks with handcuffs, and he gets introduced to J Squad.
The J Squad.
Who never really get an explanation as to why they're J Squad, why he picked that one for him to be in. Are they all criminals?
But
they don't act like it.
It's like that ragtag soldier trope, to a T. That's like the note I wrote down. Like when they got in that room, it's like, oh yeah, you got the crazy guy, you got the slick guy, you got.
Yeah, it was just weird though, because like they act like he's a big enemy because he was a criminal. So I was like, are they criminals? Like, what's the point of J Squad? And then Bill Paxton's character finds them playing cards and makes them eat half of a card.
Yep.
I was like, that is
does
super weird. What's the punishment if you don't eat the card? That was what I wanted to know. Go run a couple laps, do some push-ups. I mean, I'll take the push-ups. I'm not eating a playing card.
I did actually like the fact, though, that it's like, I don't care that you're gambling. My problem with gambling is that it makes you think that you're,
destiny is uncontrollable. And
your destiny is uncontrolled.
Yeah,
right.
And your fate is in the hands of something else.
Eats it.
So then it kind of jumps right away into like, all right, well, you're going to be here and you're not going anywhere. And then they get into like the trying on the suits that Tom Cruise had been advertising to everybody for so long. And immediately I'm thrown off because there's the one guy that just fights in his whitey tighties, and that's nothing it.
I didn't even think he had whitey tighties on.
No, I don't think he had any. I think he was naked underneath there, and he said he wanted no restriction in his movement.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And it's funny again because like Tom Cruise's whole thing was saying how easy it is to work these suits, and he's like, I will turn this gun on you if you don't let me go. And he's like, where's the safety? And he's like, wait, yeah, where is the safety? He's like, exactly. walks away on him.
Yeah, that was where I had kind of a problem because these suits have got to be expensive, right? So,
Hmm.
and they're not going to tell him how to operate it whatsoever. Like, regardless if he's a criminal or a deserter, you're throwing a body out there to just be killed. Like,
Hmm.
Well,
you're throwing Tom Cruise out there to basically just like die and in like probably what is like $100,000 suit, probably more than that, honestly, based on
Hmm.
what it does.
what also got me though was that they had like different classes of suits. It appeared like there was like a light class and a heavy class, but I mean
Yeah,
to
this
me it did
is
make a lot of sense because I mean if one configuration works better, shouldn't you just go with that configuration for everything?
Yeah, right.
Like why would you have two different ones? I mean I get
Hmm.
they probably just wanted to show some variety and be like, oh hey, these are the heavy guys, isn't that cool?
Yeah, but it
Hmm.
was like these are the tanks and these are the fast moving guys. These guys have snipers. Yeah, and that's where like knowing that the movie was kind of pieced together. Maybe that was part of it. Maybe that's in the book, but I'm
Hmm.
not sure. But
Yeah, maybe
uh,
they had to cobble together just like all these disparate things in the scripts. Like, oh, I guess there's a heavy suit. Yeah, we'll put that in there.
Yeah.
yeah, you and then we get to they're gonna go to the drop. They're gonna go and drop on um where was it
It's a
they were?
beach.
It
I
was a
can't remember
was it the
where.
same? Was it this? It's not the same beach as D-Day though, right?
Normandy.
It was in no, it was in France though.
That's
No,
what I
that's
thought too.
I believe it was
Was it the
actually.
exact same place?
I think it was, yeah. Because Normandy is in France. The
We
beaches of
also
Normandy.
before that we see Emily Blunt's character just a little bit, and then you don't even get to like learn her squad, why they wear skull masks, and are they just like the cool squad? Why her armor is all red,
Because she's the angel of death from beforehand.
and she's equipped with a sword, which all these different armors. Why doesn't everybody have a sword?
Honestly, that's a question I ask myself every time. Like, you've got weapons that fire ammunition. You want some
Hmm.
kind of backup, right?
Because there's a couple times in there where he's like, "Oh, we're out of ammo. We don't got anything." Like, where's the sword then? Use a sword. What do you mean?
Well,
Everybody should be able to use a sword.
yeah,
Honestly, once they got into the fight, the only thing I really saw the purpose of the suit, um, is just because it can hold all these different weapons. Like as far as like a strength advantage or any of that, it never really comes into play at all. It's not inherently faster by any means either, and maybe that's just because it looked that way because, like you mentioned, they're actual like real suits in real life, so like they weren't moving that quickly. Um,
That
but
was the
like just
problem I had with the suits too.
yeah, like what's the strategic advantage?
Sometimes they were moving extremely quickly and moving cars and stuff with these suits, and then sometimes they were just like trudging along like they couldn't do anything whatsoever. So
Hmm.
I don't understand the suits. Is there like a button they hit and it starts helping them?
that was
Hmm.
very much the impression I got. Is like, they're just slow lumbering hunks of metal, and they
Which is
don't
funny.
appear to offer any like real advantage.
Well,
Yeah,
in
but
the
there's a couple scenes with him and Emily Blunt where they're like basically gliding over the ground. They're moving so fast with those suits. So
hmm
I just don't understand where the line is of what it is.
well, and then some of the mimics can like travel underground, move really fast, and like are pretty parkour, I guess, for like lack of a phrase. Of like they're just like jumping all over the place, but like they're moving this slow and lumbering thing. I was like, what is the real advantage here? I don't really see it.
Yeah, let's get into the mimics for a second. First of all, they're terrifying. If that's an enemy that you're facing, it's pretty much game
Yeah.
over.
Yes.
Like before you learn anything else about them, they move extremely quickly. They have tentacles that just slice through everything, and for
Hmm.
some reason they can shoot laser blasts. They never explain that in the movie, but that was something that
Right.
they could do.
Travel
But
underground.
I have a huge problem with their name.
Yeah, the
Why
mimic
are they
thing.
called? Why are they called mimics?
That made me wonder too, because I remember them saying the name of the enemy at the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember what these guys look like. So do they like mimic something on Earth? But no, it's just
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, ooh, I couldn't remember either. I was like, oh yeah, do they like look like people? Do they mimic different things? No, they're like giant
they just
tree
look like a
root
mess
look
of like
yeah,
power
tree
cables.
yeah, that just like move around extremely quickly and just kill everything in their path. And I was like, yeah, I wrote why are they called mimics like 6 times because they never explained why they were called mimics ever.
You're gonna
Okay,
hate,
I want to get in.
You're gonna hate the explanation because I found it.
Oh, go ahead.
The aliens in Edge of Tomorrow are called mimics because they can rapidly mimic human military tactics and behaviors. That is why they called them mimics.
But
that's blanketed, and then just kind of goes into like how they operate on a hive mind.
in no way, shape, or form did I ever get the impression they're mimicking anything from humans.
Yeah, because they never ever they get into it, and obviously we'll get into more about the aliens, but they never really say like, oh, they're doing this formation just like us or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just not a great name for the aliens, I feel.
I mean, well, cool though that thing where they fire that projectile didn't make a lot of sense to me. And why do they fire out in this weird helix pattern?
Yeah.
And why are they basically just like standard explosives?
Right, it looked just like standard explosives. So I was like, how are we just never going to explain this ever?
I mean, you'd think at one point like they'd run out.
Right.
But they were firing forever. I mean, they had to have got close to running out at some point.
Yeah, it was constantly firing on the day that starts being repeated. So we get into the day. Tom Cruise is kind of running around. See the normal D-Day scene is kind of what I was like. If you see any movie, even like Saving Private Ryan, all those movies on the beach, this was basically the same thing.
Oh yeah,
he's
just
like
explosions
in a daze, close-up explosions, people falling all over the place. He finally makes it in a little bit. Sees Emily Blunt.
Yep.
Get taken out, actually.
Yeah, she gets hit with a rocket of some sorts, which you can't really tell if it's human or mimic.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's supposed to be mimic.
And then you see the one guy with the glasses just sitting there rocking back and forth saying, they're not supposed to know we're coming. They're not supposed to know we're coming.
Yeah, everyone's saying it's a slaughter, yep. And you have Bill Paxton's character just sitting there loving every minute of it, being just a crazy person.
I love that they had to put that little bit of comedy in. Mr. Birthday Suit, who, the guy who didn't wear clothes wearing a suit. He's there on the beach. He's like, hey, I made it. We're good.
Oh my gosh.
And then all of a sudden, one of those VTOLs just comes crashing right behind him, takes him out. And it's just like, you can almost hear the womp, womp, womp.
I wrote part of that down. I said, this movie had me chuckling, but I feel like the comedy was too much.
Yeah, it was out of place because they didn't really serious movie for the most part.
They never really picked a path. Like, is this going to be a serious psychological thriller horror alien movie, or is it going to be a fun ride alien action movie? They never really picked a lane. I feel like
that's the neat part. You don't know. Okay, can I please? This is something. It was in my notes, and it bugged the heck out of me.
Okay.
And it's about these suits. Why, for God's sake, do they have those machine guns on them? Because from what I could tell, during most of the movie, they weren't doing anything. I mean, these people were pouring entire magazines into these creatures, and they were barely even phased. And if they were lucky, maybe the entire magazine or two took out one.
Because we're humans and we have nothing else. We have our bullets, and that's all we got.
Because you go to Emily Blunt's character, right? She has these, shoulder-mounted rocket things, whatever they are.
She's a different class, different subclass.
No. If you got the money for one, you got the money for the rest.
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't think that's
I had to think to myself, why didn't everyone just have those types of shoulder-mounted cannons? Because, carrying around the machine guns and all those extra clips was apparently useless.
I think there were a couple kills with the machine guns, but it took a lot of bullets to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually it was 2 or 3 guys in suits firing at the same mimic.
She was also killing them with a sword. So what are we doing here? This is why I wrote that down. Why are we using the swords all the time?
At least a sword you can reuse.
Make people with these exoskeletons faster and stronger, and you give them a sword.
But I just thought to myself, all that money and supplies you're wasting on ammunition for those machine guns, just put it into more explosives.
Try and make them stronger.
And these exosuits can presumably carry a lot of weight, so heck, just attach a bunch of rockets to these things.
Yeah. So they bunker down a little bit, kind of jumping back into the main group, and they're bunkering down trying to make a decision of okay, they see the mimics coming, the wave is kind of coming at them, they're going to jump out in a little bit, and they don't realize that behind them there's one tunneling up, and Tom Cruise is screaming, trying to let him know, and it jumps up at them, but he can't do anything because he still doesn't know how to take the safety off his gun. And he'd been going through the settings so much that he actually changed the language on his suit so it doesn't even know what it's saying or what it's telling him to do. And out of nowhere, he's able to get the gun to switch over last second. He shoots at it. And then we kind of get our first introduction into the alphas, which is this, how would you describe, like blue, kind of probably 4 times the size of like your normal little mimic.
Yeah, it was just bigger, and it was blue in color. Yeah,
and for some reason, just always has its mouth open. I don't think.
Yeah,
I didn't understand.
I didn't understand that either. Like it always had its mouth open, like it was breathing some kind of radiation or something out of it,
Mm-hmm.
Or it was taking something in. Yeah, I couldn't quite get the impression of what exactly it was doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, almost kind of like a flame breath looking thing.
It was cool effects. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah,
it was a neat looking
the
design.
effects of this movie were really good. And then so he falls over. He finds the claymore that was on one of the guys that says like "always towards the enemy" or something like that. And he detonates the claymore in that alien's face. Gets covered in its blood, which is like acid, basically.
Yes.
And then he wakes up back at boot camp.
Yeah, and then we kind of get
the cycle starting.
Mm-hmm.
Wake up back at base, and this is kind of where you get that first glimpse too, where he starts finishing people's sentences, kind of buttering to himself, like, you know, he's heard these things before. Not quite out in the open yet, but certainly hinting at it.
Yeah, and then again, like a lot of it's kind of repeating. So just to kind of avoid that part of it, he runs. We kind of jump to where he runs into Emily again, and he saves her, doesn't want her to die. And he kind of repeats to her like, "Hey, this is what's gonna happen. This is what's gonna happen." And then she just looks at him and says, find me when you wake up." And she lets the ship blow up behind them. And then he wakes up the next day, and he's like, "That was interesting," kind of thought process. And then you kind of see him just trying to navigate how he's gonna get to her.
Yeah, which takes him a couple times, which is where the weird comedy comes in. Like, because the one time he rolls out of a push-up and gets run over by a vehicle.
I wrote in my notes, actually. That one had me laughing. That one actually had me laughing.
Like I said, the comedy made me chuckle, but I wish they would have like picked a direction, like be funny or be serious.
It was weird moments.
Trying to do both things, and it's not exactly meshing well.
Even Bill Paxton's character is like, ugh.
Like, oh my, what the heck? But yeah, then he finally finds her. She's in a training area, and then she's just kind of having some, I don't know what you want to call Zen moment in the middle of what looks like the shooting range. And then you kind of get into like, he's trying to find ways to hint at her, like, "Hey, I know what you know what I know, you know what's happening to me." And that's where she kind of works into explaining, what you have is what happened to me beforehand. And we need to figure this out.
Yeah, and it's why she became the Angel of Verdun, because she was on repeat, learning all of the things that were happening.
Well, and it kind of jumps back into like all that explaining that Tom Cruise was doing when he was a salesman for the suit, that, oh, it was so easy. You know, she learned it in just a couple of days. And you realize to her, those couple of days was probably mentally close to a year. You know, you could argue
months,
year. Yeah. Even like, again, like as we're jumping into it, the whole idea is that when he dies, they can start explaining that the day starts over. And you watch him die, what, 200-300 times? So mentally, it's probably about a year for him. So it's pretty interesting to watch that.
While.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she brings them to Dr. Carter, who starts explaining all of what they think they know. They're not 100% of all the things, but they know that alphas are the ones that have the blood. When you kill an alpha, it allows the Omega, the boss alien, to reset the day, which is why they keep losing.
Important to note too, like they kind of cover this, but the doctor like fell out of the good graces of, I think he called it Whitehall. He said he was a scientist at Whitehall, which is, I presume, is like the headquarters.
And it was, I thought that was really, really weird, because he said that he fell out because of what he was suggesting with the aliens and like maneuvering time or manipulating time, which if you're up against aliens and you can't win, why aren't crazy ideas being taken seriously?
Yeah, you're already fighting a crazy arachnid that can fly through the air and shoot plasma bursts through the air as well. You would kind of assume that maybe time travel isn't like the most craziest thing.
Yeah, I found that really, really weird that they would just like outwardly just be like, "Get out of here!" Like you're done. I still don't. I still didn't understand how he ended up there either.
At the same time, it really it doesn't cost them much. I mean, to do the research or anything. So like, there was no real reason to not do it, other than just pure stubbornness.
Right, and I think the reason that the main reason he said why they kicked him out was because of that
device?
plunger spike thing that they had to have a live alpha to plug into to try to find the Omega, and I think that was he was like, well, then they just kicked me out because they said I was crazy.
Which, I mean, presumably would have just been like a couple soldiers going along with them and going to find an alpha.
Right, but then somehow he's working on the exosuits in the main barracks. Like you get thrown out for being crazy, but you still get to work for the United States government building the things that are taking on the aliens. I didn't understand that part of it. The world government, or they never really said what the government was. Honestly.
No, because he mentions in the beginning that he's a major for the U.S. government, and he's like, well, I work for the world, and I outrank you. You mean nothing to me here. But yeah, good point. Like, it's, you've been labeled as crazy, but we're going to still let you do maintenance on all these suits. Like, you could do some crazy things still.
Well, this guy was a top scientist, apparently, too, and knew the mimics better than anyone. So even that in and of itself would be useful.
Yeah, that's where I thought it was like a weird thing in there with him. But
like, yeah, we don't want any of your expertise at all. Get out of here. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you kind of sort of get into the days of all these different days. He's dying. Sometimes Emily Blunt is just putting a bullet in him to make sure that he dies, like if he breaks his back during training or he breaks his leg, which is very cold the way that it happens.
Yeah, well, because
to your point, Garth, like this was where that comedy was being overused. Like oh no, I think I cracked my ankle. Oh.
Yeah, because they start to explain, like, she starts asking about, like, hey, I used to have that, have you started seeing visions? Because the visions were showing me where it was. And he's like, and she mentioned something about, like, you're going to have to get us off that beach and get us to where it is. And that's where he kind of gets into, like, the get you off the beach. I don't know how to do anything. I'm not trained. And that's when we jump into, like, the repeat of her training him and, like, oh, I broke a leg. All right, start over. And just real quick hits him in the face.
And it becomes kind of rapid, which it made you think there were some plot holes there because, and maybe this is jumping ahead. No, this is not really jumping ahead. So, right, as they're going through, Emily's training him and they're waiting for him to have these visions. And so finally he does have these visions. He's like, hey, I know where it is. I said a dam and I don't know what country it was.
Germany.
Somewhere in Germany, I think, is what he was being shown. Yeah, dam in Germany.
But one of the things that got me was what was it? It was when they went to get the minivan.
Yeah.
Is that they didn't know it was running. But then when they were driving on the road in the minivan, he had mentioned having a conversation with her when they were on their way to Paris or Lyon. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think they start getting to the points where they quit showing you where he failed, and then he starts just going off on random moments of just like
he'll just say like, yeah, we've had this conversation before, or you've never made it past this point. This is as far.
But it was kind of off-putting because it was like they stopped trying, and you're just like, wait, what? You sure you've had this conversation?
Yeah,
before?
there was also a moment like that too, and it's a little. We can just jump back after this, but it's towards the end where he starts to convince J Squad to help them with something, and he starts giving J Squad like their backgrounds, not knowing them. Where was all of that? You're gonna tell me that we couldn't have all of this come together moments with the J Squad, where apparently he had all these deep conversations with J Scott at some point in time. We're just going to jump right into like, hey, I knew all this and this and this about your brother, this and your sister, that, and it all just seemed kind of rushed at the end, kind of.
Yeah, it goes from like kind of point to point to then just assuming, well, you can just assume that he had a conversation about this before, and we're going to move on with the movie.
Yeah. Even the
When
one guy, he tells him, he's like, he told me what my second grade teacher's name was.
Yeah, exactly. Like deep conversations. But going back there, Emily Blunt's character and Dr. Carter start talking about like, oh, if we're losing tomorrow, it must be because somebody killed an alpha. Then like obviously that was Tom Cruise, and then when they kill an alpha, then they can reset.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're just building up. They're getting all this army, so there's nothing left in the world to fight. Which I wrote. That's a pretty. That's what seems like a bit of a rigmarole to go through for the enemy when they could just send an alpha in anywhere in the world to just die, so they can reset the day and win. I don't understand.
Yep.
Like, it seems like a crazy plan to get all of the nation's armies to one place for this big battle instead of just like send an alpha here, send an alpha there, then we can reset and we can get this, we can reset and do this. Like, why wouldn't you just be sending alphas constantly to places to just die?
I think, well, they did talk about how rare they were, and I think that was part of like they are like a limited thing, because I think once they die, even if they reset the day, did it come back, or did they say that does it stay dead? I couldn't
would
remember
imagine
for that.
that it comes back. He says something like it's 1 in some millions, but like, how would he know?
Yeah, but you're also fighting a massive like arachnid hive mind
like
thing.
1 in 6.8 million. Or
Yeah,
something
it's like a
that.
huge, like, okay, that's based off of what you've seen. What if in the main base there's thousands and thousands of them because they just don't go out into the world that often?
Yeah, because I mean, that they made it very clear. Even the Doctor made it very clear that he doesn't actually know.
Yeah.
They don't actually know that there's this Omega thing.
Yeah, we don't actually know that much stuff. We just seen visions of a thing.
Because she was seeing the visions, and then when she finally got to where she thought it was through her visions, it wasn't even there in the first place. She got like knocked unconscious or something, and then they gave her like a blood transfusion, and that's how she lost her version of the ability to go back in time, was because her blood was essentially purged of what would have been the alien blood, so she no longer had the ability. But then they kind of like Houseman mentioned there, they finally find a vehicle to try and get to this dam, and they're driving down the road, and they're kind of having like this, I guess, kind of background story conversation, and he's telling her all these facts about herself and like how you should start talking more because you're kind of quiet, and she just kind of goes, that's not actually my middle name, or that's not actually somebody that I know, and that my other versions of me that you know have been lying to you. Because she doesn't want to get comfortable because people die, and what's the point?
Yeah, that was And then there was a guy like Hendrix or something. Who she watched die a bunch of times and couldn't save at Verdun. So you kind of get that closeness.
It was her
I guess.
little brother, I think, wasn't it? Isn't that what she said?
No, she had little brother, and there was Hendrix.
There was like Hendrix, and then she said she never wanted to talk about that person ever again. She never really got into who it was. I think it was supposed to be like maybe like a lover or something along those lines.
Yeah, it was her version of what she is to Tom Cruise in this, where she, same thing, tried to explain what was happening to her, and they were trying to work together to try and get to the end, to try and kill this thing, and she was unsuccessful. And so then, in where we are at in the timeline here, they end up at some farmhouse that has like a helicopter. So they spend some time kind of hunkering down, filling up this helicopter, trying to find the keys. And like, as you mentioned, like this was another situation where as we're watching it, we don't really notice it, but they've been through this situation multiple times. And they don't even like call to it. And like out of nowhere, he makes some comment to her, and then she kind of snaps and goes, how many times have we done this? Do you know where the keys to this helicopter is? And he has them in his pocket, and he starts going off on a tangent of like, we can't start that helicopter. If we do, you die every single time. And that's where she kind of gets that. She's that version of him that Hendrix was to her. Like, I know you die, and I'm going to keep dying because I don't want that to happen. And that's where like the intimate that he's feeling for her kind of starts to come out.
Yeah, but then she jumps in the helicopter anyway, which is the dumbest thing one of the dumber things in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he tells her what's going to happen, how's it going to happen, and she still's like, I'm going to jump in this helicopter. Not let's find a plan around it. Not like let's do something else. Just let's jump in the helicopter and get attacked and then die.
I think the impression I got is that she was trying to motivate him to just forget about her.
Yeah, that I'm going to die.
And kind of like stay on point.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you need to just complete the mission. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, but then
And that was
she's
kind of like a
dying
way
and
of
she tells him
forcing his hand.
Then she dies and she tells him her actual middle name.
Yeah. I like, and just think that I just remembered how she finds out that he's been like hiding the fact that he knows where the keys are and they've already figured this out. It's the way that she likes her coffee. He's like, oh, well, first she's like, oh, I'm surprised you found coffee. He's like, yeah, you want some sugar? She's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, wait, you actually like 3 packets of sugar in your coffee. And that's what kind of like triggers her to like, how many times have we done this? And how many times have we been here? But also like, again, we've never seen this happen. So like, what other versions of her let her feel that vulnerable to kind of explain that? And then I don't know, that's where it kind of lost me. Same with you, where it's like some of these like repeats they didn't show really would have helped some context clues, like how we got to this point.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
I was like doing a lot of thinking about that, right? And that, like, think about just living the same day over and over again, and like how rote it would become.
Yeah.
So you got to imagine, like, he doesn't always, maybe there were probably some days where he just, screwed around.
Right.
Because he couldn't be bothered to have the same conversation for the, 300th time or something like that.
Well, and then they did do that. They did do one of those days where he had like kind of given up and he went to a bar where we had to see Tom Cruise ride a motorcycle because obviously Tom Cruise has to ride a motorcycle in every single movie he's in.
Thank you, Berg. I wrote that down in my notes. Like, there was no point to showing him on the motorcycle other than Tom Cruise wanting to be seen on a motorcycle.
That's what I wrote down too.
That was it. It was like a 10-second scene.
Tom Cruise has to ride a motorcycle. That's what I put in there.
And
but then he finds out. Then he finds out that the aliens were actually hitting. I think it was at London. Was that where he was?
Yeah, no, it was London.
Oh, the aliens are actually hitting London on the backside during this fight. So like they're just going out and attacking everything during this fight. And then he comes back and
first he gets into it with the veterans, because the veterans are like, when we were doing D-Day, we were on the beach already and we had this figured out. And then like that's when he kind of has the back and forth with them about like, I've been out there, I've been multiple times, and he's kind of like, I've actually already would have died by this time. And that's when he goes out onto one of the bridges and he notices them kind of rolling in towards the attack, and that's where it kind of gets that realization, because it looked like he was going to try and go it without her for a little bit to try and see if he could figure it out without her dying, and then they jump back and trying to figure it out. Yeah.
And then he comes up, they're talking, he's like, we've done all this before, we were with Dr. Carter, and like we know about the Omega and I know about all this stuff and we can't stop it. And then they all kind of have the same idea of the plunger spike thing, that if he uses it because he has the Alpha's blood, then maybe they could track the Omega.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to the generals, that wherever the general was that big building he was in, I don't know if they ever said, but General Brigham, to try to convince him to give them the device, the actual device, so they can try this. And then you start hearing him say the line that he apparently came up with while he was doing all these repeats, where it's like, what I'm gonna start out sounding crazy, but the more and more I talk, it's going to sound more and more rational.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, he repeats that a few times to different people, like saying like, hey, we've already done this 1,000 times. I'm just gonna this obviously this conversation's, the way I'm saying this makes it make more sense.
Yeah, it's going to be mundane to me. Just before that, when he's kind of on like his solo thought, he actually makes it to that bridge in Germany that he thinks it is. And he kind of ends up like looking down and he realizes that it's not actually there. And that's where they jump to the general to say, maybe we do need to try out this device of yours to see if it works, because I actually got to where this giving me these visions and I found out that it's just tricking me to try and get its blood back because it knows what I'm doing.
Okay, but the dam in Germany is where this movie's plot kind of falls apart for me, because when they're in the dam in Germany, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes and looks down into that, whatever it was, the turbine room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no Omega there. Now, an Alpha and one of the little guys are there, one of the little drones.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they don't kill him, naturally, right? Because they know what's going on. Or at least you get the impression they know what's going on. So he tries to shoot himself. They bat the gun out. He tries to blow himself up. They take the grenades out. But then all that, all I could think about was, okay, so they have the knowledge, even the little drones have the knowledge that you have the alpha blood in you and the day's resetting based on you. So why then all the other times were those mimics killing him? Because like he died to mimics like dozens and dozens of times that they showed in the movie. So you think like, well, if they knew this was going on the entire time, they could have taken steps to remedy it.
Right.
And that's where it kind of fell apart from like, well, okay, now it's just, you kind of had to drag the movie out. Okay, fine. But also the plot is.
I agree with you on that
now.
one, because if anyone else would have went to, how would they have known? If anybody else went to that dam just on happenstance, would they have done the same thing to anybody who went to the dam? Like, what were their orders?
Right. Yeah. And like, even then, like, how were they going to get the blood from him without killing him? And like, what was the idea of how, like, if they caught him, that's how they could remedy it? Because the only reason why she lost the ability beforehand is because humans messed it up for her. So what was their game plan if they did catch him? Like you mentioned, they led him there on purpose.
Yeah, and then they like cut his arm and made him start bleeding. So I don't know. I really don't know, because if he would have died of blood loss. I mean, I don't know if they wasn't really established that would be taking away that power.
Well, whatever the case, right? They had the awareness that if we kill him, this day's just going to reset. So we need to find a way of dispatching him without killing him outright.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they would have had to have foreknowledge of that because, as they said, the dam was kind of like a dummy. It was like,
Yes.
you know, they were throwing him fake visions to make him go there. But if they were throwing him fake visions, then that means like it's connected to all the alphas, and the alphas are connected to the drones. And again, it just kind of gets to that point where it all falls apart for me.
Yeah, it all kind of falls apart. And so then they go talk to General Brigham. They get the device. The first time they get the device, or it doesn't seem like the first time, because he says something along the lines of, you have to stop shooting him, because apparently she just shoots the general all the time.
Yeah.
Or it has shot the general a few times during these conversations. Finally gets it out of the safe. And like, obviously he wasn't going to just let them walk out of that building. I don't know, like that was like the first time they had the device, like they're just going to let you walk out of there. No, they're going to have soldiers waiting there for you, and then you get a reset, but then the reset jumps right into them in a car chase, getting shot at constantly.
Yes.
And Tom Cruise gets injured, but not injured enough to die. And then you get what was basically foreshadowing the whole movie. He loses that power because of the blood transfusion to stay alive.
Yeah.
And then you get the "we only have one last chance" trope to make this work.
It did make you wonder, though, like, you know, when does he make that call to like, well, I'm going to shoot myself now to reset the day? Because you almost think like, well, if you're in a car chase and you think things are going south and people are firing at you, that, you know, maybe you should just kind of dispatch yourself.
You could have just reset. Yeah. And but they did get the device to work. He found out that the alien was under the Louvre, which I thought was an interesting place to put it under.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were going to have to go to the Louvre. So the plan is to get J Squad to help them, because they need more manpower to get into the Louvre, which now we're at like the end of the movie. The end of the last 20 minutes of this movie, I could have just skipped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last 20 minutes of this movie, none of it really makes a lot of sense, and it has a terrible ending. So spoilers, we're going to get into how terrible it is.
Well, and they didn't like... So, in the beginning, right, when they were focusing on J Squad, they were pretty much unceremoniously offing them when he was first learning.
Mm-hmm.
And now they kind of get this, like, fake heroism moment at the end, as if we're supposed to care for these characters.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of care for them.
Yeah, the one thing to, like, jump back just a little bit before we get too far to the end. She mentions that, like, if they get their device that they need, that they don't need an alpha, they already have him. If she already knows that stabbing him works, then why wouldn't she have tried that the first time around when she had the ability itself to find out where it was actually heading? Because I think she got to Verdun and they couldn't end it because it was already gone by the time she got there, and she had a blood transfusion. Unless I missed a point there, I was like, that's what I thought. I was like, you knew this was going to work. Why didn't you?
They didn't know it was going to work. The doctor kept saying it doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
She'd be like, "What about this?" And the doctor, and she said she tried it on herself at some point in time too, and it didn't work. I don't know why it worked for Tom Cruise.
Because he's Tom Cruise and he drives a motorcycle.
Pretty much, yeah. Just plot armor, I guess.
Just Tom Cruise and a motorcycle.
But we get into this last thing. He trying to convince J Squad. We get into like he must have had a bunch of days with a lot of them, backgrounds and stuff. But they still need Emily Blunt's character to make them join up for this mission. Even after all this stuff, I know the future. He knows the future, what's going to happen. They still want Emily Blunt. They still need Emily Blunt to push him over that hill.
Mm. They're afraid of her.
And then we get to, they're in the helicopter. They're going, and I wrote this down because it makes no sense to me. So they have these exoskeleton armor, super advanced stuff. They all click on regular flashlights on their helmets or on the exoskeleton. It's a click flashlight on there. Mm-hmm. You told me we cheaped out so much we couldn't put lights on these things.
Just
were they never gonna fight in the dark? I don't understand.
Yeah. And then we kind of, like you mentioned, the end's kind of not super. It's very Tom Cruise-y, very action scene. They crash directly into the Louvre. They end up in the bottom in the water.
Well, before that, even all of J Squad basically gets wiped out unceremoniously.
Yeah.
They have this big moment. There's all these speeches. We're gonna go do this. They just kill all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them you don't even see because they get blasted out of the sky and they just fall out. So I just didn't understand that. I was like, what was the point of having J Squad even join them if they were just gonna be like gone right away?
Yeah.
And then you're just down to Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt like you should have been in the first place.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, that where you said like that screenplay kind of being chopped up comes in. Maybe there was more development there, but as you said, those last 20 minutes or so are just kind of throwaway action scene.
Yeah, and I was actually pretty upset. There's that scene where the two guys, the one guy can barely walk and he's like, "We'll hold them off for a little bit," and they stand in front of the gas tank.
Yep.
To like make that scene, you should have made that scene more epic. When you actually watch that scene, when that thing blows up, only like 2 mimics die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like, why is this is so terrible. Like you are gonna kill these guys as a sacrifice, but you only let them take out 2 mimics.
Yep.
In this explosion. You couldn't have them take out like a horde of them, like help out a little bit.
Yeah. Kind of a wash. Well, the one guy actually wasn't going to sacrifice with them to begin with because the guy's like, well, I'm not going to make it. And he's like, all right, you got to hurry up and go. The guy jogs like 3 steps and then he sees that wave coming at him. He's like, all right, well, I guess we're both here then. And he just kind of jumps next to him and they keep on shooting until their clips go out. And it's just like, alrighty.
And then, like you said, they go through the Louvre. No chance that Tom Cruise's character makes it through that crash into the Louvre. He's like whipping around. He gets whipped through the building. He lands on concrete and he just like brushes himself.
Falls 20 or 30 feet.
Basically just brushes himself off.
And goes, we've been through worse.
And then uses a shotgun, which can apparently just take out the mimics in 2 shots. After pumping lead into these things the whole time.
Thank you. Just wasting clips and clips.
Is he the Doom guy? Is it the Doom shotgun?
It's the super shotgun, yeah.
He's just like, blam, blam. Oh, that mimic's dead. Blam, blam. That one's gone.
He obviously got the quadruple damage power.
What the heck is happening out here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he is injured, like kind of limping, and then an Alpha tries to start hunting them. Emily Blunt tells him that he'd never make it, so she's going to sacrifice herself so he can detonate the grenades on the Omega, which is under a lot of water.
Yeah,
the amount of that he has to swim to try to get down there.
So yeah, she leads the Alpha away, kind of acting as a decoy to allow Mr. William Cage to swim down to the Omega. But this scene, they dragged it out so much. Like as I was watching it, the Alpha was pretty much right behind him before he got in the water. And they very clearly look like better swimmers.
Yeah.
When they were showing them like going into London, they were going literally like 100 miles an hour through the water. So they're good swimmers.
Yeah. The only argument you can make is like, it was a small confined space. But again, like Tom Cruise really wasn't moving that fast. Like they almost move like symbiotic, right? Like Venom, like they can kind of slide through things pretty easily. Like they don't really have much for bone structure from what it looks like. So you tell me you couldn't just like slip through there, and they can stretch their arms too, which is kind of, again, fast forwarding to the last little bit here. Like that's how he ends up kind of stabbing Tom Cruise. But like in every hero movie, he actually happens to get the clips off the end of the grenades, and the grenades slowly fall into the bottom of this mine or the Omega.
They had to do the scene where like, oh, the mimic gets like stabs him, and then he turns around and is like, I actually, his hand like floats up those rings, like,
yeah, I've got the clips.
I got the clips. Like the
Yep.
scene that's in everything that has to do with grenades.
Like, and then I wondered, did the Alpha understand the concept of pins in a grenade, or is it just
yeah, it kind
Yeah.
of makes they kind of make it have like a face, like, oh no.
like, oh,
And then we get to the ending. It blows up. It does like a shock wave, and then it encases Tom Cruise's character in like a cloud of blue and green,
the blood.
and they ruin the whole movie by making the ending. He wakes up on the helicopter, basically before all this stuff happens.
Yeah,
not even the same day at PT, before he even talks to the general. He wakes up, and you see the general on the news saying there was a shock wave that happened, and we're starting to win the war because the mimics aren't as good. And this is where I was like, if you think about how time works, none of that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, and also like, again, he dies and he doesn't even reset to the same point that he was always resetting at. It's just like to a random, even before that day instead of the midday point. That definitely kind of, it's like, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah, I just wrote terrible ending, and then he walks up to Emily Blunt's character. He gets back to that base, and she says the same thing that she had all those times, and then he just laughs.
And it's credits.
Yeah, for some reason they felt the need to like make it a fairy tale ending, which I do not understand.
It didn't even feel like a fairy, like he smiles at her, but it doesn't even like, it felt way too open-ended. And like you said, like they really didn't know how to end this, but like, what is the culmination of this? Like, do they go off into history and just become one happy couple? Does he explain to her, like, you didn't do any of this? Like, I made all this happen and you and I did this together? Like, some more, like, conversation of, like, I have what you had and then this is what it means. But
yeah,
also,
like we won, we did it.
So then my brain started going to, since the Omega's dead, does the ability mean nothing now? Because clearly he regained the ability. Does he become the Omega? And like maybe that's where I was overthinking it. Like
I think you can get
like,
too far down the rabbit hole, because you can't even have him reset and then winning the war unless the Omega gets killed in the first place. So what's the point of him going all the way back to that point, and then somehow the Omega's dead in the past and not in the future? That doesn't make any sense.
I just understood it as like, yeah, just kind of like a reset back to the beginning. But again, like, why couldn't we have cut to the general or something announcing, like, after they were at the Louvre, like, hey, you know, thanks to the, well, he didn't have to say thanks to the noble sacrifice. Somebody was like, oh my gosh, their plan actually worked.
Because then it makes the sacrifice worse. Nothing. You can't feel good that he did everything.
I was actually hoping for that moment, like Rogue One, where like, yes, they all died, but it was for the greater good. Like this was for the Earth. Give them a shrine at the Louvre. Call it a day. They beat the Omega. Now we're beating all the rest of the mimics that are left. We're going to clean up the town. But no, we go back to before basically anything happens, and then there's still.
They live. J Squad lives. Everybody lives.
Everybody happy. Everybody happy. Yeah.
Everybody happy.
But yeah, we're at like an hour. We can get into our ratings.
Make it like District
All right, who
9.
wants to go first?
I can jump at it. As repetitive as it was, like given like the whole idea of the movie, I still liked it. I think I'd still give it like an 11.50. I like action movies. I still like the idea of the mimics and how that was played out. The thing that loses the 400 and some points for me is the ending was very terrible and some of the plot holes in the middle. But from an action perspective, it's a Tom Cruise movie. It's action packed. There's guns going off.
So I think my opinion of this movie, like, it was entertaining up to a point. And I did appreciate some of the practical effects in it. I mean, using actual helicopters in some cases. Maybe not the Tom Cruise motorcycle thing, because that's just him being him. But some of the other, like kind of practical scenes were pretty nice. That being said, I'm going to have to give this one a 953 out of 1507. And the reason for that is just the gaping plot holes that they never plug.
Yeah. So yeah, basically the same problems you guys had with it. The ending really made this movie not great for me. I gave it a 1095.
Oh, you guys were generous. Oof.
I don't think that's very generous. It's still 72. I mean, like, it's passing, but it's not great. I think if they would have went either way, if they would have went more into the comedic stuff, I think it would have been good. I think if they would have done like a horror sci-fi vibes, I think it would have been even better than that. But yeah, just too many plot holes, too many things sticking out. So yeah, 1095 out of 1500 for me.
I was trying to Google why is Tom Cruise always on a motorcycle, and the first thing it gave me is why is Tom Cruise always running?
I mean, he doesn't run.
Because he's Tom Cruise,
yeah, he doesn't run a lot.
And you got to know he's badass.
He's fit.
So that was 2014 in Edge of Tomorrow.
House spin?
All right. Well, thanks, folks, for listening. Appreciate it. Next week, we're going to hop into 2010, and somebody has Saturday Night Fever, but not in the way you'd think. We'll have to find out then. Please, though, if you're listening, go ahead, leave some comments on our Facebook page, leave some comments on our Podbean page. Any way you can give us feedback, please do. We'd appreciate it. We're kind of new to this game, so
yeah, huge shout out
to get better for y'all.
Huge shout out, really quick. We're about a week in on our Facebook and well over 100 people. So thanks, everybody. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything helps, folks. Till next week.
Yep. Catch you later.